Hi, my name's Bobby, and in today's video I'll be doing my September TBR. Before I start on that though, I'm going to show you my August wrap-up. So in August I only completed 2 books. The first one I completed is a graphic novel, and that is by Brenna Thumbler. This is a story about a ghost who looks like a person hidden under a bedsheet, and he decides to make friends by going to a laundrette. And it's really cute. There's a really cute drawings in here. Like, here's a full page spread, and then say we've got some really cute drawings, and there's a bit in the ghost world as well. This book is focused on grief and friendship. A touching story, like really emotional. So there's a girl in this story called Marjorie, who has recently lost her mom, and she's grieving. Her dad's grieving really badly, like going through depression, and she's got a little brother who's in kindergarten. And basically Marjorie has to take over the running of their whole house and everything, and they live in a laundrette, and so she's basically running the whole company. Well, it's one laundrette, but you know, she's basically running the whole thing. And every time something goes wrong, she's blamed for it and everything, and she's like really struggling because she's still in school. And then a ghost called Wendell appears, and he is from the ghost world, and he's really lonely, so he comes to the human world to make friends, and thinks he'll find them in a laundrette. And that was just, it was so emotional, you know? It was a really lovely story. It was really sweet. It's so heartwarming, but like there's emotional elements to it. It was really lovely. I'm not sure what age group this is actually in, but I definitely think like teenagers would get this. Maybe like even young teenagers. Really good book, and it's one of my favourite books I've read this year. It was like really sweet, there's really beautiful drawings, really colourful, and the characters was just really lovely. And then the only other book that I only completed it yesterday actually, and that is Devil Darling Spy by Matt Killian. So I read this as an ebook on my phone. I enjoyed it, but I still think I preferred the first book, Orphan Monster Spy, which I mentioned in my favourites video recently. So the first book follows a girl called Sarah, who is a Jewish orphan living in Nazi Germany. She's just lost her mother, and she meets this guy referred to as the Captain. He is a British spy, and she sort of joins up with him and helps him to like spy on Nazis and stuff. And in the first book she has to go to an all-girls boarding school, and she needs to befriend this girl whose father is a scientist for the Nazis, and so she needs to do that so they can infiltrate him and everything. The first book, really fun. I loved the boarding school setting, I loved all the characters, it was so interesting. And then this book was just, I mean, it was okay. The second book is completely different. There's no boarding school, which made me really sad. This time they are travelling to Africa because the Nazis are sending down bombs carrying diseases and trying to kill off like loads of different villages in Africa. So they're going exploring and trying to find out what's going on and who's doing things, who's making this happen. It was okay. I liked it. There was a lot of discussion about race and gender rights and things. Of course it was in the 40s, so it was much worse than now. Like, it was a much... Oh, I don't want to say it was a bigger problem, because I know it was a really big problem still. But like, it was more difficult to change people's opinions about these things back then. So part of me still feels a bit iffy about white men writing a story about race. I found that a bit weird. There was like a large portion of it was about race and how black people are treated, and I don't know. I mean, it's not really my place as a white person to make comments on this, but you know, I'd like to see opinions from black people who have read this book, see if they think that it was represented well, because I mean it probably could be represented well if it's researched right. I feel that maybe someone from a position of privilege isn't going to represent the situation so well. But I did quite enjoy that book. I gave Devil Darling Spy 3.5 stars. I put it as 3 on Goodreads. I think I gave Sheets 4 stars, and the only other book I've been reading I haven't quite finished it yet, but I'm sort of planning to finish it this weekend, is The Hero of Ages by Brandon Sanderson. I am so close to the end, like a couple of hundred pages, less than that, like maybe 170 pages, and it's just annoying me now. I only got through like 50 pages in the past week. It's stressing me out now. I really want to finish this book. I'm actually getting to the point where I'm like tired of still being reading the same book. Like, I'm enjoying the story, the fact that it's the same book every single day, that's just getting to me. So this is the third and final book from the Mistborn trilogy. The first book is The Final Empire, and it's about a girl called Vin who finds out she has allomantic powers, which means she can ingest metals, and certain metals give her certain powers. I really enjoy the magic system in this story. I enjoy all the different characters, and the magic system just keeps like developing throughout the whole series. Especially in the third one, it gets like a bit mad, but I'm not telling you about the third one. I'm going to tell you about the first one, because spoilers. So in the first book, Vin joins a gang of kind of thieves, and they decide they're going to take over the Empire, basically. Their world is ruled by someone called the Lord Ruler, and he's considered to be like the most evil person to ever exist. He's like, there's so many poor people, and he treats his people really badly, and he has so much power, and they think of him like a god because they believe that no one can kill him, and he's been alive for like 100 years or something. So the first book is really centered around trying to take over the Lord Ruler, and then the second book was okay. I was a bit unsure about it. This book, like, I'm really enjoying it, but it's sort of bothering me how long it's taking me to read it. I started this book at the beginning of May. It's now the end of August. You can probably see why I'm tired of it now. I just want to get it completed so I can say I've finished it. Like, oh man, I really like the story. I love the characters. I love the universe. It's just wonderful. But it's not ending. So because I haven't finished this book yet, I'm not going to give it a rating, but I am really liking it. Not my favourite of the series. I think the first one was my favourite, but we'll see about the ending. So in September, I'm going to be participating in Becca's Bookopoly-thon. This is a month-long readathon, and it is based on Becca's TBR game. So I'll have the announcement video linked down in the description. But basically, Becca released this board which is based on a Monopoly board, and it has loads of different prompts for books you can choose to read. And then you also make your own miniature chance cards, and instead of a community chest, it's a community bookshelf. The other things you need are 2 6-sided dice and your own little counter. So mine is Robin from Batman and Robin. So all the rules and squares and everything are explained in Becca's announcement video, so I'm not going to go through those now. Basically, I've already done my roles in advance, and now I'm just going to talk to you about the different books I chose for each prompt. So I initially decided that I was going to do just 4 roles, because I've recently been really struggling to get through all the books on my TBR. So this is the board for Becca's Bookopoly-thon. As you can see, I have the community shelf cards here and the chance cards here. My counter for today is going to be this figure of Robin, which I'm going to place on the go square. And then I have my 2 dice ready to go. Okay, so we're going to choose my TBR. So we have a 4 and a 2. So we can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that is a book with a dark cover. So for my first roll, I landed on a book with a dark cover. This book I have chosen Stardust by Neil Gaiman. I'm going to be honest, I don't know anything about this book at all. I just know it's a fantasy story. I know there's a film about it. Never seen the film. I haven't read a Neil Gaiman book before. I've tried. I got about a third of the way through American Gods, I think it was, and I just couldn't gel with it. But that was nearly 10 years ago, and this is a much shorter book, so I'm hoping for the best. I'm really looking forward to going into this book without any preconceptions about it. I think that helps me to enjoy books more if I don't have like extra high expectations or anything. So hopefully this one will be really good, and it's not too long either. The second roll. That is a 3. 1, 2, 3. So that is a book with a light cover. So on my second roll I landed on a light cover. For this book I've chosen Alice in Wonderland by Lewis Carroll. So this version is the Penguin Classic Edition, and it's got Alice's Adventures in Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass. I haven't decided if I'm going to read the first one or both of them, but to be honest it only goes up to about 200 or 300 pages in total, so most of this book is just like an appendix and an introduction. It's like a really long introduction. This bit's still the beginning, the book actually starts that far in. So the two books together are only about that long, so it's not too much. So I'm going to start with just reading the first one and just see how I get on with it. I know this story because I've seen the film, but I've never read this book before. I've never read any version of this story before, which I think is kind of unusual. Like, I think most people know the story. I know the story, like, vaguely. Like, I've seen the Disney movies. I saw the original, the classic animated edition, and I saw the with Johnny Depp and Hathaway one. Not a great lover of those films. It wasn't my favourite Disney movie, but I think the world's really fantastical and it's really interesting, and I think from what I've heard about this book, the language used is really, really intriguing. So this book is on my 2020 priority list, which I posted a video about recently as well. It's also one of my goals for the year to read more classics, and if I read this, it'll be my second classic of the year. Hooray! So hopefully that I'll get this done, and that'll really help. So roll number 3 is a double 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That is the first in a series. Okay, so then after that I rolled a double 6, so that means I have to have an extra roll, which means I now have to choose 5 books for my TBR. But the square I landed on was read the first book in the series. For this I've chosen The Lies of Locke Lamora by Scott Lynch. This is the first book in the Gentleman Bastard series. I don't actually know how many books are in the series. I'm hoping it's a trilogy. Okay, I just looked up and it's not a trilogy. It's 7 books. So, I'm hoping it's good. What am I letting myself in for? Oh no. So, this is another series that I don't know a lot about. I first heard about this book when I was studying fantasy at university. I believe it's about a gang of thieves, which the ringleader is Locke Lamora, and he was an orphaned child, and then this is like about him as a grown-up running a gang of thieves. That's about all I know. I don't know anything about the world or anything, but apparently it's a really good book. I'm guessing that it's a heist story, but I don't really know. I like the idea of a heist story. It's very much the Final Empire. Like, I like that book. That was my favourite book in that series. That was the more of a heist story. I like that stuff. Hopefully this will be like on the same level as that. I've got high hopes. I've tried reading this in the past. I didn't get much further than the first chapter. Okay, I don't have an old bookmark in here, but I don't remember getting very far. So, second time lucky, hopefully. Okay, and because I got a double, I now have to have an extra roll, so I'm going to have 5 rolls now. So for the 4th roll, that is 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 5-star prediction. On my 4th roll, I landed on 5-star prediction. This is a book that I'm expecting to be, like, top class. Like, it's going to be full 5-star review. This prompt, I chose a book that I've had for quite a while, and that is Stalking Jack the Ripper by Kerri Maniscalco. I first bought this book because it was recommended by Hayley in Bookland. That's the second book that she would have recommended, because she would have liked Alice in Wonderland. This is a Victorian-style detective novel about a woman who is hunting down Jack the Ripper and trying to find out who he is. For those of you who don't really know British history, Jack the Ripper was like an infamous murderer, like a serial killer who went around murdering prostitutes and cutting bits of them out, and it was really gory and no one ever caught him. So that's what this story is referring to. It is about a woman who's chosen to be a detective against her family's will. So I believe she has to do it in secret. This is part of a quartet, and the sequels are about Dracula, Houdini, and the Devil. So if I like this book, I'm very excited to go on to read the rest of them, because they all sound so intriguing. I really like books set in Victorian times. Well, I really like reading the Finishing School Quartet, which was set in Victorian times, and I like that sort of era and like the whole societal values and everything, and I really hope that's sort of represented well in here, and I really think it will be, because this is about a woman who wants to be a detective when society's telling her that it's a man's job and she shouldn't be doing this sort of thing. So I'm really thinking that it should be focusing on that kind of thing. So I have really high hopes for this book. It's got high recommendations, and I am so excited for this. And for my 5th and final roll, it is a 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that is a big book, which is a book more than 500 pages. So for my 5th and final prompt, I landed on a big book, which means a book that is more than 500 pages long. Really been hoping that I wouldn't land on this, because big books are such a struggle for me. I love them, they're always like really good detailed stories, but they just take so much time. For this prompt I chose I Capture the Castle by Dodie Smith. I received this book as a gift for Christmas a couple of years ago from a friend, and I never picked it up, and I feel kind of bad about it. So I don't really know what this story is about. This to me as like, it was one of her favourite books, she wanted me to read it. I believe it's a classic. I mean it's published by Vintage Classics, so I assume it's a classic, right? It's another one for my girls. Not quite enough, but it's another one. Dodie Smith is also the author of 101 Dalmatians. So I'm thinking she's going to be like a really good writer. If she's done it's a really good book. If that was a really good book. Which I haven't actually read yet. But again, this is another book that I don't know anything about, and I'm really interested in going into this book blind and without any expectations. I think that will really help my enjoyment. Hopefully it won't take too long, because I mean, look at this, it's a big book. I'm not thrilled about having to read a big book, but I'm going to read a big book. But on the other hand, I have kind of good expectations because my friend liked it, and for some reason I trust her. So those are all the books that I have chosen for my September TBR. Yeah, I really hope you liked this video. I'll leave a link in the description for the announcement for the Bookoplathon, and let me know if you're joining in and what books you've chosen, or if you've read any of these books and really enjoyed them. I'll put my Instagram and Goodreads links down below, and the links to any other videos that I've mentioned today. Okay, I'll see you soon.